Back from spring break. Good to see everybody. Hope you're all getting here. Waiting. Got my cowbell. If you saw the tease, you're probably wondering what in the world I'm going to talk about today. Very exciting news, as you might can tell from my camera angle. I got a mount for my car, so I'm really high tech now. Not still posting it, putting it up on my steering wheel. So here I am, Wacky Wednesdays. Welcome. This is Leslie from the car line. I'm waiting for somebody to say hi back, so hop on and say hi. I got Kirby here today with me. Kirby, say hi. Oh, you can't. Hi. There he is. He's sick. Ha ha ha. Okay. So, anyways, you got to be asking yourselves. I told y'all it's my tease. What does the cowbell have to do with Easter? So, hey, just stick with me. I'm going to tell you. I just want to say this. If I am your only Bible teacher, yikes! Please go to church. Find a preacher. Find someone that has more than a semester of Old Testament and a semester of New Testament. Hey, Harry. And teaches high school Bible school, Sunday school. So I just really encourage you to go to church if I'm your only Bible teacher. I might mess some things up. However, today I've got really exciting news. I went to church this morning, and what I'm going to talk about today, the preacher actually talked about too. So I might be on the right path for a change. I gotta stop right here because I forgot to do this last time I talked to y'all. My G3 girls, what is G3? It's Libby's small group, 13 and 14-year-old girls who I meet with once a month, and we just fellowship and talk about Jesus and love and grace, and they gossip, whatever. And so they wanted me to give a shout out because they think this is really cool. I'm not sure why, but so I'm giving a shout out to my G3 girls. Most of them are at school, except for I know one, Peyton. Hey, I know you're on spring break. So if you're watching, Miss Leslie said hi. Okay, I have to tell you how I came to this subject. Some of you read my teases and know that I'm talking about Jesus shouting and me shouting and cowbells and Easter and how that all coming together. So it all started last week. I was looking at Twitter and this lady put, hey, you know what? Leave me alone. Stop shaming me. Maybe my parenting strategy, maybe the way I do it is to scream, and that's okay. It should be okay, right? So I kind of thought that was fun. I kind of agreed with her. Kind of like that. Maybe that's what I want to do too. And then I thought, you know who else does that? Jesus. Yay. So try to be like Jesus, and he shouts and I shout, and that's good. And then I was, I wrote that down and I started studying it a little bit this morning. I was reading some stuff to get ready for Sunday school, and I started thinking about that shouting thing with Jesus. And I was like, I got some really good ideas, and I think that they might be right, but they might not. So we've been going to church this week every morning. It's Holy Week, in case you don't know that. It's Holy Week. Easter's on Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday, Thursday. Friday's Good Friday. And our church has a little service from 6:30 to 7, and it's great. I highly recommend it if you're in the Jacksonville area. Come Southside and see us. And anyways, this morning, as I'm having these kind of concerns that I might not be teaching, preaching, whatever, the right stuff, I go to church, and our pastor Bruce, he actually speaks on shouting and Jesus shouting from the cross, and as it is referred to in the crucifixion. And I thought, oh my goodness, everything that I was thinking, he's saying. And so I was jotting away madly. So you're gonna get some of his stuff too. Hey Mary, great. Now the preacher's wife's watching me, so if I screw up, she's gonna know. But anyway, so Pastor Bruce, he knows that I'm kind of borrowing some of his stuff from this morning because it fit with what I was saying, and I just thought, oh my goodness, later on, that's kind of scary. God's given me this. He's really working through this crazy message that I started a week ago, and got really affirmed this morning. This is what I needed to say. So here it is, and it makes me nervous. I'm going to mess it up for God, but hopefully I won't. So anyways, back to my cowbell. Yay! You have to wonder why do I have a cowbell? I live in Jacksonville, in the middle of the city, not on a field, no cows. Hey Mary. However, as you know, I do have 2 boys, and so I have a cowbell, and one of them sitting next to me now, he's smirking. But that's okay, because what happened was we moved into our house in Jacksonville, and I was always outside screaming for my boys to come home because they just leave and disappear into the neighborhood, and I was yelling. And then we had all the neighbors over to get to know them and to just fellowship, and several of them, as I was introducing them to Kirby and Charlie, said, oh yes, we've heard their names so much. And I thought, oh dear, that's not good. That's not how I want my neighbors to think of me, as a screaming woman on the front porch. So I wanted to get one of those dinner bells that you mount to the house, but that's been not accomplished yet. But Carlton did get me this this fabulous cowbell for Christmas. That's what I got for Christmas. So I ring the cowbell, scare people walking on the sidewalk. That's okay. And sometimes the boys come home. Sometimes. And sometimes I scream still. So that's the story on the cowbell. And this whole idea that, my parenting style might be a little loud. Sorry, not gonna yell at y'all, but my parenting style is a little loud. And, it doesn't always start that way. A lot of times I ask nicely first, don't I, Kirby? I say, please, will you please pick up your rooms? Please. And I ask nicely and calmly and sweetly. And then, hey, Missy. And then they're like, there's two Missys. Hey, Missy. And then I'm like, a little louder, please. And then a little louder, and there's no more pleases. And then there's the screaming, and that's when the screaming starts. And I know that's wrong. I know it's bad. I know I've conditioned them this way. I know you have 1,000 tips on, and I'm going to even give one in just a minute, on how not to do the screaming parenting. But my youngest child's going to be 10 in a couple weeks, so I'm pretty much a lost cause at this point. But just in case you're one of those people who's young and still has young people who you might not become like me, Livy went to a Montessori school, and the principal, she talked like this. She talked very calmly and quietly, and all the kids were quiet. And that place, they had like 100 kids, and it was so quiet you couldn't believe it. So I know what she was doing. She was doing that trick where you're supposed to do it and then they mimic you. But let me tell you something. It does not work for my people. My people like loud. So that's what we do, okay? So don't get over it. I'm a good cheerleader on the soccer fields. They love it. So nice and loud. Swim meets, you got to scream loud for them to hear you under the water. So it works for me. All right, so back to Jesus and why I'm like Jesus, because he shouts a lot. Anyways, as a writer, we say if there's an exclamation mark, then that means you're shouting. And in my Bible, it's red and has an exclamation mark. So I know, hey Greg, hey Kevin, I know that Jesus is shouting, okay? If you don't like that theology, whatever, but I'm telling you, he's shouting. So I'm going to go to right before the Passover, and Jesus goes into the temple courts, and all these people are selling animals for sacrifice, and it is just not a holy place at all. So what does Jesus do? He makes a whip. He starts swinging it around. He throws over the tables, and he says, and I'm going to give you this right from the Bible because I feel like that's probably the best thing to do. He shouts with exclamation marks, "Get these out of here. How dare you turn my Father's house into a market?" And I think to myself, I'm kind of like that when I go into my kids' rooms and they're a total disaster. And I'm kind of like, I'm not swinging a whip around, but I may have dumped some drawers out that were disorganized and had the wrong clothes in them and weren't folded properly. And I'm sure that I shouted, "Get this out of here." So, I feel like that's there. But I think to myself, hold on, let me just be sure I'm not going to get ahead of myself. So I'm thinking, to myself, why is Jesus having to do that? What's the deal? Because he's trying to be heard, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. What are you thinking? Does Jesus have to shout at you to get your attention? Recently there was a TV celebrity, I'm not going to give her name because I don't want to give her any more credit than she's due, but she said she didn't know how people heard Jesus. Well, a specific person, the vice president, whatever. And I was that really bothered me. It really bothered me. It really got under my skin. And I just thought to myself, maybe if she was quiet, she could hear Jesus. And that, that's the thing. We all have got to learn that little lesson. And so that brings me to the next thing I'm going to talk about. Some other times when Jesus shouted. So here's one. And I love these because they're what I want Jesus to shout to me. And I know he's shouting to me, this first one. Take courage. Take courage, exclamation mark, Matthew 14:27. Take courage. I worry. I'm afraid. I'm really afraid when I do these Facebook Lives because thank goodness you people can't see me, but I'm kind of silly and I don't really know what I'm talking about half the time. Or I might forget or I might mess up. And, I'm a writer and people say mean things to me. Yes, they do. And so they might hate my work, and it's scary to put yourself out there, but Jesus is saying, take courage, exclamation mark. So that's what I want to hear that. And then I want to hear this from Jesus. Oh my gosh, do I want to hear this next one? Matthew 15:28. Ready? You have great faith, exclamation point. You have great faith. I want Jesus to tell me that. I want him to say that to me because, some days, hey Lauren, some days like today, Shannon, if I didn't say hey Shannon, if some days like today, like actually the last 24 hours, I've had some little doubts. Don't like to admit that. And I don't want Jesus saying, you doubt. That's not good, people. No, I want Jesus saying, you have great faith. And I'll tell you what, Jesus, he came through for me in this 24 hours. 3 different times he's given me things from the Bible, from people, from emails, saying, you know what, you keep having the faith, girl, and it's going to happen. And I'm going to follow through. And what I'm telling you is what I started, I'm going to finish. And not a doubt. And so I want him to say that to me. Have great faith. All right, here's the last one. Going back to when I started. He says, and we all need to hear this one, and I say it to my kids all the time, listen! Exclamation mark. Listen! Mark 4:3. Jesus says it with an exclamation mark. I think he wants us to hear him. I think he wants us to be still and quiet. We can't hear Jesus. We can't hear anybody if we are talking all the time. So I wanted us to think about that. In Psalm 46:10 says, be still and know that I am God. And actually the guest blogger today that I have, she actually does a huge thing on this. She says, she has a whole blog on that. So check it out. It's on my website, www.lessadevote.com. And so you can hear what Laura has to say about being still and how we need to really work on that in our lives. So I just really challenge you to be still. I did it today, 10 minutes. I set a clock. It went by so fast, you wouldn't believe it. But just be still so you can hear Jesus. All right. Jesus did not have a cowbell. I'm sorry. I know that was a little bit of I kind of tricked you people. But, and there was no cowbells at the, crucifixion or at resurrection. How it could have been like celebrating on resurrection day. I could hear that. But what we talked about at church this morning, what Bruce talked about, was just that from the cross, Jesus does shout. He shouts twice. And I'm going to tell you the first time he says this. Hey, Whitney. He says, hey, Tisha. He says this. Just hear this. This is what the Bible says. Mark 15:34. Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Did you hear that? I've been practicing. It's really hard to say, and it doesn't look like the right words. And I might have said it wrong. So, I mean, Shannon and Mary, I know people that y'all probably would know if I said it wrong. I'm sorry if I said it wrong. But I'm doing the best I can. I'm from South Georgia. We don't talk like that. But what does it mean? What does it mean? What's Jesus shouting? He's saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? This is not a happy phrase, right? This is sad. This is scary. And Jesus isn't whispering it. He's saying it loud. He cries out in a loud voice. And what does this mean? I mean, what does this mean to us? It demonstrates his humanness. This is what I felt this morning. It just really reminds us how human he is. And as he gets closer to the cross, how he is becoming more human. If you remember, we talked about him crying with Mary and Martha when Lazarus died. I mean, he's feeling for us. He's feeling like us. He's reminding us that he loved us so much, he would take on a human form, right? So in those final moments, he takes on our sin. Now, this is what Bruce talked about this morning. It's so good. He takes on our sin. And when he does that, all of our sin, he's separated from God. And that's super painful. I mean, that's like the greatest pain. Can you imagine? Jesus has been so close to God, and now he's not. Now he's separated because of our sin. And he took it for us. Willingly, voluntarily. He could have not done it, right? And he loved us so much. And he knows our grief and our hurt and the weight of our sins. And he knows it because he was human and he did it. He did it just like us. In that moment, he spoke our words, what we say, why have you forsaken me? And demonstrated the depths of his love for us. I mean, that's it. That's amazing. There's nothing we can do, no place we can go. No matter what, Jesus is there taking on that grief, that trial, that regret with us. And to me, that's what knowing Jesus is all about. That's what being a Christian is all about. Life can be fabulous some days. Beautiful blue skies here in Florida today. 77 degrees. It really can't get much prettier than this. I sat outside and read for a little while. I mean, really, it's an awesome day. But every day's not like this. Shannon, you're making me cry now. Every day's not like this. Every moment's like this. You know that. Because we're human. And it's so good to know that Jesus knows that. He feels that. He can be there with us. Don't put Jesus in the box of just those like great days. That's not human. Don't put him in that box. That takes away everything that he lived for and died for. Let him out. I'm so glad that Jesus shouts. I'm so glad. I'm so glad he feels like me. I'm so glad because I know that he knows what it's like to be human. He knows to feel the joys, because we have a lot of those, right? A lot of those. But he also feels my sorrows, and I like to know that too. And those last words, I'm just so glad Jesus leaves us with shout, because that's me, and I like loud. So what does he say? What is he saying now? He's taken on our sin. He's been separated from God, but he's getting ready to go back. And what does he shout? And I love this. This is what it says in Luke 23:46. Jesus called out with a loud voice. Now people, I just love these Bible writers. They just don't want to say he's shouting or screaming like me. They make him special, so he just calls out in a loud voice. Not sure what else that could be but shouting, but that's what he does. And this is what he says. Father, he's coming back to God. Isn't this beautiful? Into your hands I commit my spirit. I mean, I love it. He commits his spirit. He's back with God. He took that for us. It's a good thing, people. And this what we're getting ready to have here as we go and roll into Maundy, Thursday, and Good Friday. These are the words. Think about them. Think about Jesus shouting them. And I want to leave you with this one little thing. This one more shout from the Bible. It's from Mark 10:49. And I love this because this isn't Jesus shouting. This is the crowd. But Jesus has just said to them, call him. And he's talking about the blind man. He wants a miracle, right? And what does the crowd say? The crowd says, and I'm getting ready to tell you, there are 3 exclamation marks. So there's getting ready to be some shouting. Cheer up. On your feet. He's calling you. He's calling you. He's calling me. And I think about that. This is the time of year. This is it. You know, on sunrise service, St. Simon's Island, I'll be there for Resurrection Sunday, and I know what God's saying to me. He's saying, cheer up. You know, this is what he said to Mary. I think that's what he said to Mary. I know I saw it wasn't in the Bible, but I don't care. It says, he said, cheer up. Get on your feet. He's calling you. He's calling you. He's calling me. It's such good news. And here's the best news of all. Romans 10:13. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Everyone. Everyone. Those of us like me who scream. Those who whisper and are quiet. Those who have so many problems and troubles and struggles and have just fallen into temptation. It doesn't matter, people. He's calling all of us. And I just pray that you know that you know that. And if you don't, I pray that you just get in contact with me or somebody else. There's lots better people to talk to than me, but I'm available. And you know, I'm going to post, as soon as I get off here, or maybe it won't be as soon as, because I tend to forget things. But I'm going to post a link to my website so that you can see that post about being calm, about being still, about listening from Laura. And I just hope you go to that and enjoy it. And remember that over the next 3 days, find some time to be still, find some time to be quiet, find some time to listen for God so that you can be that person. Listen to him. Be courageous. Be courageous for him. He's telling you to do it. And let him say to you, you're faithful. I mean, I love it. Let him shout it out for you. Shout it out for him. Shout out for his glory on Sunday morning. All right, friends. Ringing up my bell one more time. I'm all going off the air. Hope you all really felt this today, and I hope you have a wonderful Easter, and remember what it's all about. And don't forget, don't let it for 1 minute forget what Jesus did for us during this time. It's not just about the Easter eggs and the Easter bunny, although I do love me some Cadbury eggs. Remember what Jesus, what he really went through for you. He loves you so much. Bye.